Hey everyone, today I'm going to share with you what we've been getting up to here at Stackbit. Let's start with an update that we recently released for filtering references. Filtering by references will give you not only more control over your search results, but more accurate results quickly. After opening then the selected dropdown, you can choose the appropriate entry. I linked down below the docs for filtering references so you can follow along for that as well. Also, I wanted to share about some interesting content we recently released. Our own CEO Dan met with the CMO Jason to discuss all about how to scale your marketing efforts with enterprise technology. I really enjoyed listening to this long form video. It's a great chat to have in the background while you are working, almost listening to it like a podcast. All right, lastly, I'm going to pass it over to Sean, who is going to dive in a bit more around document hooks. Also, too, I'm linking those document hook documentation. I'm linking the docs down below. Over to you, Sean.
Hey Stackbit community, let's take a look at document hooks. This is a new feature that opens up the ability to tap into a document's lifecycle and transform that document's information or even perform other actions on other documents within your content sources or any other action that you wish. There are 4 new methods that you can define directly in your Stackbit configuration file: on document create, on document delete, on documents published, and on document update. And each of these follows the same sort of pattern. They get a shared set of options, but they also get their own unique options. For example, here with on document create, it gets 2 unique options here. One is create document and the other is create document options. And the return values are all very similar throughout all these methods. For on document create, the expectation is that the return value is actually calling the create document function, and it is passing to it the create document options object. Because the document is not actually created until after this method is run, you can manipulate the options in any way or perform any other actions you want up here, and then only after returning from this statement will Stackbit actually create the document and commit those changes to the content source. There are a couple examples in our feature guide, and we also now have a new documents section within our configuration reference so you can see the explicit usage of each of these methods along with these shared options. And these shared options are usually used for accessing information outside that document. But of course, that's all very abstract until we actually see it in practice, so let's dig in. Here we have our minimal Next.js starter, which you can get by running npx create Stackbit app. And I've converted this project to use TypeScript to make things a little bit easier for us. Now, there are many things you can do with document hooks, but let's just come up with a simple example so we can see how it works. In this project, the page model is pretty simple. It has a title and then it has a list of sections. What I want to do is I want to create a new field called versions. I want it to be read-only so that editors can't change it. Anytime that page changes, I want to increment that version by 1. So first, let's define the field. It's going to be a type number. The name is going to be version. Label, will give it maybe version number. And let's make sure that it is read only. Okay, now if we save that and come back to our page, we can see we have version number field and it is grayed out because it's read only and our editors can't change it. Let's begin by setting the initial version to 0. Now, this could be accomplished simply by using a default value and setting it to 0. But this is a super simple use case, and I want to show you how these document hooks work. And so we're basically going to mimic the default value behavior. So we're going to add a new property to our configuration called onDocumentCreate. And this is a function that takes a single options parameter. Often what we have to begin with is some sort of escape hatch for documents that don't match the model that we want to manipulate. In this case, we want to make sure that the document is a page document. So let's extract our create document function and the create document options. And then we'll say if, and in this case, we're going to say create document options dot model dot name do not equal page, then we're simply going to return create document and pass it the create document options. And I realize I have a typo here, so let's get rid of that. Great. Now we know we're working with just page documents down here. And because we know we just want the version to be 0, we can manipulate the create document object and then call create document and pass the manipulated options to it. So I'm going to say create options is type of create document options. And then we're going to spread, create document options, and then override just a select property, which is called update operations fields. And then in here, we're going to spread the original update operations fields. And we just want to add to that our version field. Now you can introspect this object so that you can see the shape of it and you can make changes that make sense for your project. Here, I'm just going to try to move fast. So we're going to say version is a number and the value should be 0. And then we return from the function create document and these new create options that we've created. All right, let's save that and go back to the browser. I'm going to create a new page. We'll just call this test1, test number 1. We're going to add this page. And as we get redirected to this page, we can pull out our page editor and see that the version was set to 0. So that's great. Now what we want to do is let's increment that every time we make a change to this particular page. Let's add on documents update. And the structure is going to be very similar here as well. And we'll make sure we get our update options and update method here. So the name is slightly different, but the idea is very similar. So update document and update document options. And then we are going to have the same sort of escape hatch, except the properties we're going to use are slightly different because at this point, the document has already been created. And so you can get the model name directly on the object. Instead of create document options.model.name, we can actually say update document options document, which is going to be the existing document before the update action occurred, and model name. And then we would return update document and pass update document options. Okay, so again, now we're down here and we know that we are working with a page document. To be able to increment the version, we need to get the original version. Let's first grab our version field and we'll just call it current version field. And this is going to be update document options document fields version. Let's have a fallback version. So we're going to say current version equals 1. So for pages that already existed, we can just assume their value is 0 and we'll give them a version if they don't have one. And then if they do have one, we'll find it and we'll increment this. So we're going to say if current version field, and if there's a value key in that field, then we're going to instead set our next, actually, you know what? Let's call this should be called next version. Let's set our next version to current version field value. And we'll fall back to 0 just in case, plus 1. So we increment it by 1. And then, like we did above on document create, we're going to build an update options object. So we're going to say update options here, and this is going to be type of update document options. And we're going to spread just like we did before. And this time, the property that we're overriding is called operations, and this is an array. And we will first spread the operations, and then we'll just override the one for version. And we know that version isn't going to be one of these now. You probably want to add an extra check in here, but because it's a read-only field, I'm not going to add an extra check to make sure that I'm not duplicating an operation on the version field. And then there's a unique set of properties that we have to pass here. We're going to give it an operation type of set. Field path here is going to be version. Field is type number. Value is going to be the next version that we set above. And the model field that we're setting is type number also. And the name of it is version. And then lastly, we need to actually return the update operation. So update document and then update options. All right, let's give that a try. Let's change the title And as we do that and the title saves in the source, notice that the version is automatically incremented. So every time we make a change, we're running that update operation and we increment that version number here. So this was a simple example, but even at the most basic level, you can see how powerful this is, that you can take some fields, you can compute other fields values based on that so that you don't have to change or add more logic to your front end code because that content has already been created and stored in the content source. But there's so much more you can get into, especially as you explore everything that's jam-packed into this options object. There's so many things you can do, and I'm looking forward to see what you can do with your project.
Thanks, Sean. All right, that's all for this week, but make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any Stackbit updates and other educational and oftentimes fun content that we are producing. See you soon.